it's me, Courtney, and welcome to my channel. It has been a minute, I feel like, since I've done like an actual foundation review. I feel like right now there's a ton of concealers, foundations, and powders that are coming out. So I'm trying to like slowly work my way through all of them while still trying to make sure I get a good wear test at least a week or two kind of thing. With all that being said, the first foundation, or one of the foundations that I'm trying out lately, has been the Charlotte's Beautiful Skin Foundation. I heard a lot about this, especially when it first came out. Charlotte Tilbury is really known for doing really great complexion products, not always in like the tan to deeper skin category, but this foundation does have 30 shades. The one foundation that I did try from her that I really couldn't stand was the, I think it's like the Airbrush Flawless Finish. That one was a fuller coverage. Couldn't get a foundation shade out of that. That one was a mess. Now it does say that it's a 16-hour natural glow foundation with buildable medium coverage to hydrate, smooth, blur pores, and brighten skin. And it uses hyaluronic acid. I'm one of those people that I could go without hyaluronic acid simply because sometimes it can look a little dry on my dry skin without any other factors that really make it moisturizing, if that makes sense. Per usual, I've tried this foundation out for about a week or two actually. It's actually kind of interesting because I did use this foundation on a road trip that I went on where I was literally a few of those days up from like sun up to sundown. So we got like some really like long days of wear out of this. I'm rambling. We're gonna go ahead and get into it. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so here is what the actual packaging looks like. This is $44 for 1 ounce. It does come in 30 shades. I got the shade 10 Warm, which is a little bit richer than my skin tone. It is described as like a tan with warm gold undertones, which is really what I look for. I do love the undertone of this. Like, I love the color, and it will work for me like once I get my tan situation going, like once the sun actually hits my skin consistently. But it is right now slightly darker than my actual skin tone. I could get away with 8 warm. I think that would be like spot on. There is a 9 that is supposed to be like a warm peach undertone, which I could get away with that as well. But when I look for specific undertones, I look for warm golden, I look for yellow, more so than the peachy. So as you can see, it is a little bit runny. It's not a very thick foundation, certainly not as thick as like the Airbrush Flawless, I think it was called. I really couldn't stand that one. It was a super duper full coverage one that came off a little bit sticky, a little bit tacky, a little bit too thick of a foundation for my taste. So I'm just gonna start with 1 pump on one side with a brush and then build that as much as I can so you guys can see what that looks like. And I'm gonna be using my Fenty, I think this is 115 foundation brush. And as soon as I tap in, it kind of sucks it all up. So that 1 pump, that's essentially what it did. So I'm gonna go in with a little bit more, no foundation, and then with foundation with the brush. It's very, very skin-like. Of course, it kind of claims to be skin-loving. You can still see my moles, and as I mentioned, I did do like a little bit of an extra layer. Simply with this layer, I do feel this ever so softly on my face. But I know that like once I get like my whole face on, it's less fillable. And as I mentioned, it is a little bit more tan than I usually like my foundation to be. But in the summertime, it'll be spot on. All right, so now I'm gonna go in with another pump on the other side, and I'm gonna be using my beauty blender. All right, so this is full face. You have brush on this side, and then you have sponge on this side, and it gives a pretty like similar application. I took about 4 pumps on this situation, and I usually take about 2 to 4 pumps depending on if I want a lighter coverage or if I want pretty much this, which is more medium to me. I know that this foundation does claim to be medium buildable, but honestly, even when I tried to build it more than this, you can still see my moles through it. So I feel like this is one of those foundations that does give you a really clean, even canvas for your makeup, but it's definitely not full coverage. It's pretty much a light to medium. You know what I mean? My skin doesn't look necessarily like filled in, like poreless, but it does look like a natural, just even canvas. I would say if you are trying to get a little bit more of a full coverage look, I would definitely go in with like a concealer that's your skin tone and sort of spot conceal a little bit if you're looking to kind of cover up a little bit more of your imperfections, if that makes sense. But I do really love how my skin looked in this foundation. I've loved it every time that I've worn it. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead, do the rest of my face, get it all together, and I will come back and show you guys what that looks like. Alright guys, so this is the final look for the day. I got a really late start today, so I am probably gonna be up late tonight so that you guys can get a full at least 6 to 8 hour wear test. It feels better than when you initially put it on, when it feels like makeup-y and stuff like that, but it feels way more comfortable now. Everything goes on really smooth. As you can see, the highlighter smooth, the blush is smooth, the contour went on smooth. Like, I never have any issues with this sticking. I didn't mention it, but I am using the Tatcha Silk Canvas Primer today. I've tried this with a few different primers, and each time that I've tried it, I've liked how it looked every single time. Every time I've tried this foundation with like different concealers, powders, I've liked the way that it looks and feels each time. So definitely a plus in my book. And as I said, today's another really great makeup day or afternoon. So it is currently 4:53. So we're just gonna round that to about 5 o'clock. So we'll try to get at least 6 hours. So what is that, about 11? If you're curious about any of the products that I'm wearing on my face, that will definitely be in the description box below. But I'm gonna go ahead and finish eating my salad and then go chill for the rest of the day. Hey guys, this is gonna be like my little check-in type of situation. So it is now, I don't have my phone, but it was 9:36 when I looked at the clock. So we're about four and a half hours, we'll call it. Anyway, so far everything still looks really good. Like, honestly, it looks really good. I do have like a minimal amount of creasing, mainly because it's starting to get a little bit like an oily feeling, like it's starting to break down a little bit. It's not necessarily breaking apart on my face except on my nose, but I feel like I maybe have been rubbing, so I'm not gonna like hold that against it so much. I am going to blot. I'm not gonna use a powder or anything like that. Today I didn't set like my whole face with any kind of powder. It was just like the powder that I used under my eyes, like for my concealer and stuff. I'm just gonna pretty much take a paper towel and just blot a little around the nose, because that's where the majority of the oils are right now. I mean, honestly, I could go without doing this because you really can't tell, but it's because I can feel it, you know what I mean? Blotting it did take away the oily feeling, you know what I mean? Now, one thing that I did want to mention, I did try this over an extended amount of time. So there was one day, didn't get any pictures, sorry about that, but there was one day where I literally wore it from 7:30 in the morning till I want to say maybe 4 or 5 o'clock the next morning. Long story, but it still lasted that entire time. I did blot, I want to say, twice that day, and it still at the end of the night or morning, I guess it would be, looked really good. So it still looked good. So as far as like the longevity, like I already know this foundation has that like intense long wear type of situation, which is surprising considering it is a little bit more on the moisturizing, not really matte at all kind of situations. So I am here for that. I know that was one of the claims for sure. I apologize if y'all can hear the TV in the living room. All right, anyway, deuces, I'll be back. All right guys, I am back. It is now 10:54. All right, so this is what the makeup is looking like. I was sitting under my fan in my living room, and now my eyes are watery and like my nose is runny and stuff. So like, I just want to take my makeup off. It's not because of the foundation, I'm just ready to go to sleep. And a lot of the regular parts, like on my cheek, I still think it looks really good. We did talk a little bit about the creasing earlier. It didn't get any worse. This is one of those foundations that you can wear a mask with. I would recommend, however, setting it with like a light, either translucent or just like a regular face powder, just so that it does give that extra layer of matteness. I always mention on my channel that I have dry skin, so when a foundation does loosen up from its matteness, it always looks better to me at the end of the day, if that makes sense. So I love foundations that do that. This one is interesting because it doesn't actually start off like a matte finish. It's more of like a soft satin, I would say. It's not super duper glowy, even though your skin does have a decent amount of like lip from within. It's not super glowy or super shiny, which I really love. There's been another foundation I tried out recently, all shine. All of the claims I feel like are pretty valid. It is a long wearing foundation, medium to light coverage, I would say, not so much buildable. We talked about that earlier. And it's definitely a natural finish. I still think my makeup looks pretty good, and if like my face wasn't all watery and stuff, I still think it would look decent. And in the other times that I actually tried this foundation out, like, it always looks really good. It is $44, so it might be on the pricier side of foundations. As of all of the foundations that I've tried recently, this has been the one that I like the most that's come out. I am going to keep this shade for my summer shade, and then I'm gonna go back and actually pick up the lighter shade. I think we said it was, yeah, 8 Warm. I'm gonna go back and pick that one up so I have a lighter and a darker shade in this foundation, because I actually really do like it. Whether you have dry skin, oily skin, or like combo skin, I feel like this is a foundation that plays well. I feel like you can mattify this. You can use a more moisturizing primer if you want a little bit more glow to the skin. Personally, I love how it literally just softens out throughout the day for my skin, and my skin still looks like healthy, you know what I mean? If we're being honest, I recently tried out the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation, and I actually like this foundation better than the NARS foundation. But that's a story for another time. It does have a decent amount of shades from what I've seen, especially for Charlotte Tilbury, but that's, again, story for another time. But yes, I do actually recommend this foundation if you were curious whether you have dry skin, oily skin, normal skin, whatever. I feel like you can really play with this and get a good look, you know what I mean? Alright guys, that about does it for me. Hopefully this video was fun, helpful, entertaining, all that great stuff. If so, please give me a thumbs up. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Share the video if the mood so suits your heart and your spirit. Share the video if it's in your heart to do so, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.